Hello, my dear student. This is again Teacher Shasha, and I hope you're doing well. Thank you for taking the time in going through your grammar lesson for today. I put a lot of effort in coming up with this video for you. I hope you enjoy and learn something new today.
Welcome back, S3, for your grammar online learning. This is our third week. I know you guys pretty much have a good grasp of your past lessons. If not, let's just go ahead and review those. It's available online for the recording, and I could also send you some more exercises if in case you still need more. Now, for this week, let's go ahead and start with our quote of the day. It says here, if you cannot do great things, do small things in great way. Now, that was said by Napoleon Hill, the American author of Think and Grow Rich and the Law of Success. As they say, great things come in small beginnings. So just do your thing, practice a new skill, learn a new hobby, help your mom out, help your dad in whatever way you can. So I would just like to post this to encourage you that just go ahead, do your thing, even though it's just very minuscule or very small effort that you're making, it still would go a long way in order to reach your goal. So go for whatever goal you have. So that's Napoleon Hill. Okay, so our lesson for this week is all about relative clauses. Here's our learning objectives for the week. So first is to define relative clauses. So that's the use of who, which, or that. Review the different types of relative clause and its usage. Complete online exercises using relative clauses in a conversation. Okay, let's take a look at this example. The man was very helpful. If we say the man was very helpful, it could be a little bit unclear. Who are we talking about? There's a lot of men in this restaurant. So, to be more specific, how could you change this sentence? You could say, the man who served me was very helpful. Or you could also say, the man that served me was very helpful. In this sentence, who is a relative pronoun. It links the relative clause, who served me, to your main clause. The main clause is again the part of a sentence that could stand alone. The man was very helpful. So if we just say the man was very helpful, it may not be that specific. So to define who that man is, the man that served me was very helpful, or the man who served me was very helpful is the correct way to say it, using your relative clause who or that. Now, the relative clause answers the question, which person or thing are we talking about? We call this a defining relative clause, and we do not use commas to include this in our sentences. So in this example, the man was very helpful. But which man are we talking about? Who is it? So the man who served me. To know more about relative clause, let's listen to this story.
This is Mike. Mike is the luckiest guy I know. We used to play together at the playground where we made friends with the older kids. Mike's mother is a loving woman who makes him breakfast in bed every morning. Mike has a great job. He works at the top modeling agency in town, which he loves. Mike is the luckiest guy I know. One day, Mike was walking to work when he found $1,000,000 on the ground. The very next day, Mike quit his job and took a holiday to Hawaii, which was his lifelong dream. Unfortunately, on his holiday, Mike accidentally cut his finger when he was having dinner. Mike had to be hospitalized. Mike is the luckiest guy I know. When Mike returned home from his holiday, he was broke. He had spent all the money that he found. One day, when Mike was jogging in the park, which he does every morning, he came up with a great idea. So the very next day, Mike grew a tree which grows money in his backyard. Mike is the most ingenious guy I know. Now that Mike's a trillionaire, there's only one thing that was missing in his life: a soulmate. So the next day, Mike went out and asked out the first girl that he saw. Barbara, who was the lucky girl, immediately said yes. It was a match made in heaven. Mike and Barbara were a perfect couple. Mike was a cool guy, and Barbara, whose personality was fun and outgoing, was the perfect match. 3 days later, Mike married Jessica, his new girlfriend. Jessica gave birth to a beautiful baby boy whom grew up to be a handsome young lad, and they lived happily ever after.
Now let's take a look at what is really a relative clause.
Relative clauses tells more information about people, things.
Hence, they are called adjectives or adjectival clause.
However, they cannot work as independent clauses. They are subordinate dependent clauses that tells more information about the main subject. They begin with a relative pronoun, who, whom, whose, which, or that, or a relative adverb, when, where, and why. There are two possible forms of relative clauses: relative pronoun or adverb plus subject plus verb, or relative pronoun or adverb as subject plus verb. Here are some examples. He works at the top modeling agency in town, which he loves. Which refers to things. Mike's mother is a loving woman who makes him breakfast in bed every morning. Who talks about people. Who refers to people. It acts like a subject like he, she, we, or it. We use who to ask which person is the doer of the action. We use who as the subject of the clause. Jessica gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, whom grew up to be a handsome young lad. Whom refers to people. It serves like an object pronoun like him, her, or us. And we ask whom to ask which person is the receiver of the action. Hence, we use whom to refer to the object of the clause. However, whom is not commonly used today because it sounds like it's very formal. So you could actually replace it with who for both object and subject of the clause. For example, Jessica gave birth to a beautiful baby boy who grew up to be a handsome young lad. This is also correct. Barbara, whose personality was fun and outgoing, was the perfect match. Whose is the possessive form of who and which. We use it to find out which person or thing, something or someone belongs to. Please remember, this whose is not the same as who is. Another example. Mike went out and asked out the first girl that he saw. That could replace whom in an informal language. He had spent all the money that he found. This is just the same as he had spent all the money which he found. That could be replaced by which. We used to play together at the playground where we made friends with the older kids. Where could refer to places. He was my best friend when we were in school. When refers to time. This is why I love Hawaii. Why refers to a reason. Relative clauses can be used as the subject of the clause. For example, Barbara, who was the lucky girl, immediately said yes. Or it could be used as object of the clause. Example, Jessica gave birth to a beautiful baby boy whom grew up to be a handsome young lad. Some relative clauses identify or classify noun. To tell us which person or thing are we talking about, or which kind of person or thing we are talking about, to give us essential information about them. These are called defining relative clauses, identifying relative clauses, or restrictive relative clause. Example, Mike is the luckiest guy whom I know. We can use that instead of who, whom, or which. Mike is the luckiest guy that I know. Or we can leave out the pronoun if they are the object of the relative clause. Example, Mike is the luckiest guy I know. These clauses are called reduced relative clauses. However, we cannot leave out the relative pronoun if they are the subject of the clause. Example, Barbara, who was the lucky girl, immediately said yes. This cannot be reduced to Barbara was the lucky girl, immediately said yes. Other relative clauses do not identify or classify nouns. Instead, they give us more information which is non-essential about a person or thing that we're talking about, or that was already identified. These are called non-defining relative clause, or non-identifying relative clause, or non-restrictive relative clause. Example, when Mike was jogging in the park, which he does every morning, he came up with a great idea. In non-defining relative clauses, there is a comma before the relative pronoun. Also, we cannot use that in replacement of whom, who, or which. For example, when Mike was jogging in the park, that he does every morning, he came up with a great idea. This is wrong. Also, we cannot reduce the relative pronoun in this situation. For example, when Mike was jogging in the park, he does every morning, he came up with a great idea. The thought then becomes unclear or incorrect just because we dropped or reduced.
Okay, so to test how good you are in making sure that you got the right relative clause or identifying the right relative clause, let's go ahead and try to complete a Kahoot challenge. I'm going to be sending it to you via Google Classroom, or you can play along right now. So I'm going to go ahead and try to join. Okay. So let's go ahead and start. We're just going to go ahead and get through the first 5 questions, not the entire 25 questions. First question. A castle is a place blank king or queen lives? Who, where, which, or when? Okay, the right answer is where. You got that right? Good job. Next. An actress is a woman blank plays in films or theater plays. Okay, the right answer is who. We're talking about a person. This is a time of the year blank many people suffer from hay fever. Okay, the right answer is when. We're talking about time or in replacement of time. Next. The flowers blank grow in the garden are beautiful. Who's who, where, or which? Okay, the right answer is which. Number 5. This is the girl blank mother is from Canada. The correct answer would be whose. Now you could go ahead and complete all the other questions right here in Kahoot Challenge. I'll go ahead and link it in Google Classroom so you could go ahead and answer it. I will also be sending you some live worksheets that you could go ahead and practice some more in identifying relative clauses. To summarize, relative clauses answers the question, which person or thing are we talking about? And we do not use commas. We also use who or that to refer to people. So who could be replaced by that. Example, I thank the woman who helped me. It's also correct to use I thank the woman that helped me. And which or that refer to things. That's the machine which makes the paper. That's the machine that makes the paper. So, in order for us to be able to practice some more, you have to complete the online worksheet that I will be sending to you via your Google Classroom. And don't forget to thank your parents or anyone in your house for helping you out today.
Oh, and that's the end of our lesson for this week. That was really fast, right? Hope you learned something new today. And don't forget your homework. I will be checking on it really soon. And please remember, you are unique, you are awesome. Please thank your parent or your loved ones who supported you today. This is Teacher Shasha saying goodbye. Have a great day.